Good old Kid Gohan. Right away, he's just got that base aura. I don't really have anything to say about it other than it's gonna get a 3. And then we have what I am going to dub the Gohan grab. Now, he doesn't keep this grab forever, but it hangs around for a little bit, and I don't hate it. I'm gonna give it a 3. And then moving on to his skills, we have the super unyielding spirit, which gives him a couple buffs, puts him into sparking mode, really solid. And then he has the after image strike, which makes this a pretty solid skill lineup, one that I'm going to give a 5. And then moving on to his blasts, we have the classic Masenko, super solid beam, always felt like Gohan's signature move. And then we have the energy blast barrage, which is an energy volley. I guess it's fine that he has this. I don't really know what else you would give him. I just don't like them. And then for his ultimate, we have the Wild Rush Blaster, which is a really solid ultimate. It starts out with a pretty impactful rush, and then ends with an energy volley, but it's capped off by one final giant energy ball. All in all, I'm gonna give these blasts a 4. And then moving over to Kid Gohan's aura, he's just a little guy. He hasn't grown into the responsibility of it all yet. He hasn't learned too many techniques yet. He's just sort of riding on, all right, time to get angry, gonna burst out my power. But at the end of the day, he's still just a little kid. And the game shows that off really well. Aura is gonna get a 5. Alright, it is time for Teen Gohan. Some people would call this peak, myself included. Starting off with his aura, it is just that base aura, so it's gonna get a 3. And then moving on to his grab, he does have that Gohan grab, which once again is gonna get a 3 as well. Moving on to his skills, he has the Wild Sense, which is a bit of a downgrade from the After Image Strike, and then he has the Full Power Charge, which just recharges his ki gauge. I've never been a fan of this move. I guess I never knew why I would use 2 blast stocks when I could just charge my ki normally. It might be better online when charging is less of an option, but I don't really play competitively, so skills are gonna get a 3. On to his blasts, we see the Super Masenko come out. I love the way that this Masenko looks. When he's charging it up, there's little yellow zappy zaps that surround him, his aura starts to radiate around him, and the beam itself just looks really, really solid. Unfortunately, we see that Energy Blast Barrage make a return. However, I'm not gonna be too harsh. This version of Gohan didn't really do much fighting. It just would have been nice to see something else here. And then his moveset is capped off with the Super Kamehameha, which again is a little bit of a stock choice in my opinion. Honestly, I think it would have been nice if we got his normal Masenko for Blast 1, and then we would have gotten a high-powered Super Masenko for the ultimate, because we are going to see a lot of Kamehamehas coming out from this version of Gohan over the next couple of transformations. Despite how epic that Super Masenko looks, these blasts are gonna get a 3. Then moving to his overall aura, I mean, I said it once, I'll say it again, the fact that you can give him a cape is enough to get him a 5, but I also just like that we see Gohan growing up. We get to see more of him becoming himself, and he's got the energy to back it up. So like I said, Gohan's aura is gonna get a 5. Okay, we are finally getting into the meat of Teen Gohan. First off, we finally get that Super Saiyan aura, which is going to land him a solid 4. And we do see that Gohan grab return, so that is going to get a 3 again. Moving on to his skills, this time we get the Explosive Wave, which I'm not mad about. It would have been cool to see that After Image return, but I digress. And then we have the Full Power, which puts him into Sparking Mode, and the transformation building up to it is really, really nice. You get some of the blue Super Saiyan 2 zaps, sort of like anticipating what's supposed to come next. Overall, I'm gonna give these skills a 4. And then for his blasts, we see the Super Kamehameha, which is solid looking, can't complain about it. And then we have the Super Assault Combo, which is a pretty solid rush. I will say that little kick he does that makes them rotate around and they just sort of hang in the air for a second while they're spinning is very silly, but that spike punch into the ground at the very end is just so hard hitting. A really nice rush overall. And then for his ultimate, we have the Raging Masenko, which is one of these new types of moves in SparkingZero, where he fires off a couple of ki blasts, and then when it connects, it actually triggers the ultimate, which is a really nice looking Masenko. I love the way that the explosion looks at the end. This is one of the few instances where I'm actually okay with not seeing the opponent get swallowed by the beam, because this explosion at the end is so huge, it leaves very little to the imagination as to what's going on the inside. I'm gonna give Super Saiyan Teen Gohan's blasts a 5. And then as for his overall aura, we spend a lot of time with this form of Gohan. It's always so funny to me that Gohan and Goku basically turn blonde for like half of an arc, and we get to see what Gohan is like after his training with Goku during this part of his life. Despite everything that's happened to him, he's fairly well adjusted. Plus, he's got that damn cape. So, aura is gonna be a 5. Okay, here we go. Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. First of all, look at this transformation. I love that they made it accurate to the anime. Looks incredible. And then we have that Super Saiyan 2 aura. We got the zappies right away. I gotta give it a 5. And then we have his grab, which this time he actually has 2. He's got his regular grab, which is pretty solid. And then he has a unique grab against Cell, which is really, really nice looking. Definitely going to give grab a 5. And then for his skills, we see that explosive wave make a return, which again is fine. But then we have Unforgivable, which puts him into sparking mode and gives him a couple buffs. By the way, look at the zappies coming off of him. The details are immaculate. I think the explosive wave makes sense, and I think Unforgivable is like a perfect skill. So I'm happy to give skills a 5. And then moving on to his blasts, we have the Super Kamehameha. I've always loved the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Kamehameha because he's charging it in secret. All we get is that close-up on his face, and then he fires it off. Super cool looking, big fan. And then we have the Explosive Rush, which is a pretty short and sweet rush, but just that disrespectful backhand at the end really sells this move for me. And then finally, what else would he have other than the Father-Son Kamehameha, which looks great. The cutscene looks incredible, and of course we get to see the enemy consumed by it. Blasts are definitely gonna get a 5. And then for his overall aura, what is there to say? Cape aside, every single movement that he makes expresses that he's angry. His facial expressions, the way that he moves as if he knows he's more powerful than the opponent. He doesn't want to be here, but he has to be here. Aura is definitely going to get a 5. Alright, Gohan is all grown up. First of all, now that he is no longer a Super Saiyan, of course he has got that base aura again, which is going to get our score of 3. And then his grab is just okay. It's not bad or anything, it's just kind of middle of the road. I'm gonna give it a 3 as well. And then moving on to his skills, we have the Wild Sense, and that full power charge makes a return. Once again, these are just okay. It's definitely an underwhelming set, but they're both cheap, so I'm gonna give it a 3. Moving on to his blasts, we have the Explosive Cannon, which is like a shotgun Masenko. It's a short-range beam that hits a wider area, but he still yells Masenko when he fires it. And then we have the Explosive Flash Strike, which is, it's a silly rush. He knees them once in the stomach and they barely react, and then he does this little spin move around them, and the spin move is what gets me. It's just so slow, and then he just kicks him from behind, and they go flying. It's not a long rush, it just could have been quite a bit more impactful. And then for his ult, we have a Super Kamehameha, and to be fair, this one actually looks really good. I love the entire cutscene that plays out when this move goes off, and in my opinion, this is the only Super Kamehameha ultimate that this Gohan has. Unfortunately, it's not. Overall, I'm gonna give blasts a 3. And then as for Adult Gohan's overall aura, I like this version of Gohan, especially in the outfit that we have him here in this video. He's adapted to normal everyday life, he's still doing the superhero thing. I like nerdy, socially awkward Gohan. For his base form, I'm going to give his aura a 4. Super Saiyan Adult Gohan. Spoiler alert, I am not excited about this one. First off, with the aura, we have the Super Saiyan aura, which is great. It's going to get our Super Saiyan aura score of 4. And moving on to his grab, he's got that same grab still, so we're gonna give that a 3 again. And then moving on to his skills. He's got the explosive wave, it's fine, but he's got that full power charge still. I really don't see any reason for him to keep this skill. I'd rather him have anything else. The explosive wave is not going to save this one. I'm going to give his skills a 2. And then moving on to his blasts. So for the blasts, this time we basically have the exact same blast lineup. We have that same explosive cannon, but instead of a rush, we have the energy volley. And we all know how I feel about those. Only thing that is keeping blasts from getting a 2 is the Bros Kamehameha. This move is great. It's iconic. The beam itself is wonderful. We see the enemy get swallowed by it, and it ends on a really nice big explosion. And I'm in for any excuse to see Goten. I also recognize that it is just a Super Kamehameha, but it's done in a different way than him just firing off a Kamehameha. If it was that, this would get an easy 2. But it's not, so blasts are gonna get a 3. As for his overall aura, I just don't really know what to say about this form of Gohan. Base Super Saiyan Gohan has always sort of been an enigma, because of course he gets Super Saiyan 2 and then he gets Ultimate. Super Saiyan just sort of exists, and that's why his moveset is like this, but I think it overall hurts his aura. I'm gonna downgrade it from a 4 to a 3. Alright, Super Saiyan 2, we are back in business. We have the Super Saiyan 2 aura. I am just such a big fan of the Zappies. So much so that it's gonna get a 5. And then, unfortunately, we do still have that same grab, so that's going to get a 3 again. I know it was a little harsh on him last time, but he's basically got the same skill set as Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. He has the explosive wave again, and he has the full power. Now, the only thing that's gonna be keeping this from matching Teen Gohan's score is that Unforgivable gives him buffs. Full power doesn't. So, skills are gonna get a 4. And then moving on to his blasts, we have the Super Explosive Cannon. And I don't know why not just give this to Super Saiyan 1. It's visually different, it's bigger, it's more powerful. I don't know, seems like you could have just given this to the Super Saiyan form. But thankfully, they got rid of the volley and gave him the Super Explosive Flash Strike, which is definitely Adult Gohan's best rush. This one's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good follow-up. That kick right into their shoulder blade neck area is brutal. Super solid rush. And then we have his ult, which is just a Super Kamehameha. Nothing special. The line, I'll give you a fight, and the way he charges it is unique and iconic for this form. Just a Super Kamehameha, though. The ultimate really needed to nail it to get a 5, and in my opinion, it just doesn't. So, blasts are still going to get a respectable 4. And then for his overall aura, this version of Gohan definitely nails it. There's a lot more confidence in the moves. He kind of gets that anger back. There's just a lot more energy emanating from this form of Gohan. So I'm happy to dig Adult Gohan out of the trenches and give him a 5. The Great Saiyaman has arrived! Sorry, just wanted to try that. Anyway, we're on to Great Saiyaman, who just has the base aura, which is fine, makes sense for the character, but it's gonna get a 3. The most disappointing thing here is that his grab is the same grab we've had for all of Adult Gohan. It's Great Saiyaman. Make him do something a little bit more heroic. Give him a goofy pose. Give him a different type of grab. I am so upset by the use of this same grab again. This is going to get a 2. As for his skills, we have the Justice pose and the Justice finishing pose, which just both give him buffs. These are both 3 stocks, and neither of them put him into sparking mode, which in my opinion makes both of these pretty weak, but I'm going to match their cost, and these skills are going to be a 3. Mostly because they're still super fun to watch. Then onto his blasts, we have the Justice Bomber, which is just an explosive wave, but actually I'm okay with him having this one. This form of Gohan doesn't really use beams. And then he has the Justice Rush, which is a pretty solid short and sweet rush. And of course, he finishes it off with that very good pose. And then for his ultimate, we have Justice Judgment. And in this one, he calls in Videl, and they do a little duo tag team attack. And this one's a lot of fun too. They both get some good hits in, and then it finishes off with them both kicking the opponent in the stomach. He also finishes it off with a little backflip. There's a lot of style in these blasts. They definitely fit the Great Saiyaman aesthetic. I'm gonna give blasts a 5. And then for the Great Saiyaman's overall aura, it is the Great Saiyaman. It's Gohan, who is a loser nerd character doing a weird superhero bit. It's just fun. I love it. I love his goofy voice. I think the costume is unironically kind of dope. Great Saiyaman's aura is definitely a 5. Okay, and rounding out this era of Gohan, we have Ultimate Gohan. And his aura is pretty cool looking. It's sort of like the base aura, but it has the zappy zaps in it and a couple extra particles here and there. Definitely gonna get a 4. And then for his grab, we finally have a new grab. And this one is really sick. On top of that, he has another unique grab against Boo, where he socks him in the face and then grabs him by his little head dangly antenna thing, and does the iconic Goku move on him. So yeah, grab's gonna get a 5. And then for his skills, we have the Wild Sense, and I love that he calls them a moron when they try to hit him and he just dodges out of the way. And then we have Power Up to the Very Limit, which puts him into sparking mode. This is a solid skill lineup. I think I'm gonna give it a 4. And then for his blasts, we have a Super Kamehameha, and I have absolutely no problems with this one, I swear. And then we have the Fierce combination, which is a pretty solid unique rush. I definitely prefer him having this over like a super explosive wave. It is a little bit silly, but it also to me reads like he is playing with them because he's so much stronger than them. He just lifts them over his head and spins them around like crazy. And the end of it is cool too, where he finishes them off with this massive energy volley. And then finally we have the Burst Rush, which starts off with a nice little combo, just absolutely disrespectful, and then finishes with a giant Kamehameha. Super great looking attack. Definitely gonna get blasts a 5. And then for his overall aura, I've mentioned things a couple of times throughout, but this version of Gohan gets that cockiness. He's definitely the most powerful person there, right? Whether it's straight up dissing the opponent, whether it's spinning them over his head like they're nothing, this version of Gohan asserts his dominance. And that is an aura worthy of a 5. Okay, and the last version of Gohan we have so far is Future Gohan. Right away, just gotta say, super glad that they only gave him the one arm. It just makes all of his moves way more dope. Anyway, as for his aura, he's got the base aura, so that's gonna get a 3. And then as for his grab, this is a pretty sick grab. He's just working with what he's got. He knees them in the face and then grabs them and throws them away. Perfect 5. And then for his skills, he's got the Wild Sense. For some reason, I couldn't get it to connect to the CPU. And we see that full power charge return. These skills are just okay. I'm gonna give him a 2. And then for his blasts, he has the Masenko, which one-handed is super sick. And then he has his super destructive wave, which again makes sense for him to have. Just like Great Saiyaman, I'm not upset that this version of Gohan has this move. A different rush would have been nice, but I'll tell you what we can get. And then of course, the ultimate is a really, really nice looking one-handed Super Kamehameha. Love this one, looks great. Again, the one-handed just adds so much flair to it. Blasts are gonna get a 4. And then for his overall aura, it's Future Gohan. He's battle hardened. He's seen everybody he loves die. He's got a unique hairstyle. He's got a unique energy overall. And of course, he's got one hand, which just makes him look really cool. So Future Gohan's aura is gonna be a 5. And lastly of the entire bunch, we have Super Saiyan Future Gohan. And right away, he's got that Super Saiyan aura, which is gonna net him a nice little 4. And then we see that grab return, and that one's gonna get another 5. Then moving on to his skills, we have the Evil Barrier, which just has so much more utility than an explosive wave. And we have Power Up to the Very Limit, which this one gives him a bunch of buffs, which I noticed that Ultimate Gohan's didn't. So now I'm wondering if that's a bug or if there are differences between different characters' power up to the very limit. Either way, Future Gohan's Super Saiyan skills are going to get a 5. And then for his blasts, we have the Hyper Masenko, which is really nice looking. I like the little accents of purple when it's charging up, and then he has the special beam cannon as well, which is pretty solid. I think the usefulness of having 2 beams like this is that with the Hyper Masenko, it triggers a cutscene and fires automatically, good for countering beam struggles or finishing up a combo, versus the special beam cannon, which does more damage when it's charged up, a little bit harder to hit, but you're gonna get a better result. Also, look at the purple lightning when he charges it up. That looks so sick. And then for his ult, we have the Fierce combination, which is so sick, especially when he just grabs them by the leg and slams him into the ground. And of course, once again, it is finished off with a giant one-handed Kamehameha. The only little nitpick that I have is that it would have been nice to see them swallowed by the beam. But that's just a nitpick. It is not going to stop blasts from getting a 5. And for his overall aura, he's got great attacks, he's got great skills. This is another peak form of Gohan. He simply cannot have anything less than a 5. And that is it for this moveset review. Thank you everybody so much if you've watched all the way up to the end. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps me out a lot. We are on the road to 1,000, and I'd love for you to join our little community. I also post a bunch of different content on this channel, so if you're interested in never missing an upload, please consider hitting that notification bell. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you again everybody so much for watching, and of course, as always, see you next time.